Hello, welcome. If you've made it here, then hopefully you've already seen our collaborative film Bottleneck. If you haven't, then it will be linked somewhere and it will also be linked in the description. Go check that out and then come back here if you want to hear more about how we made it and what that was all about. It all kind of began when my friend Mary Ancheta, who is an amazing musician here in Vancouver, reached out to us because she's been, during COVID, collaborating with dancers to kind of physically interpret her original music that she's been making. So she reached out to us because she saw some of the dance videos that we've been posting on Instagram together and was wondering if we would like to do some movement stuff to her music. Of course, we said yes. We love collaborating, especially with super talented friends. So we checked out her SoundCloud, some of her music, and see what we were vibing with. Originally, we were gonna hustle, do a funky partner dance type thing. But then we came across this piece called Moving Air, just really struck an emotional chord with us and inspired movement.
So piggybacking off of what Vanessa was saying about starting with a totally different track that had an altogether different vibe, there was definitely an element of metamorphosis to this piece where we started thinking that it was gonna look very different. We were just basically gonna party through it. We're gonna be in a gazebo, but then actually due to weather, we ended up changing our plans. Kind of out of the blue, we just decided to film one night. After doing this deep dive on SoundCloud, we fastened the GoPro to the ceiling.
And that was actually a pretty funny process. So we were thinking about, okay, we want a bird's eye view shot, but how are we gonna do that? And we're thinking of different ways that we can mount a camera to the ceiling. And for some reason, the best way I could think of was to wrap my GoPro in a bunch of crafting pipe cleaners, and then we screwed in these two little hooks into the ceiling, jumped on his back to do all this, and kind of just made it work. After a few test shots, that's how we came up with the overhead floor work shots.
From that initial shot, we then assigned meaning to the piece that we were doing rather than starting with an overall vision, which it has its merits, but it also has its shortcomings. It definitely led to a lot more time added to the editing process and to later filming processes because we weren't exactly sure of the direction of the film until we kind of had it going. So it's like we were driving with a blindfold a little bit, but it was really cool to see the way the ideas unfolded from the momentum that we had already created with the pre-existing film that we had. And then that just created this trajectory where we really had to dig through and dig our way into the idea. But once we got there, it felt very right. It was very relevant to a lot of the things that we've been experiencing interpersonally and things that we both have experienced through our lifetime.
It was really interesting to kind of work backwards because normally when we start something in our creative process, we kind of have an idea of what this is going to be about. But this piece kind of created itself. The original shot was just these organic movements of whatever was invoked by the music. And when we were watching it back afterwards, I don't know if it's our subconscious speaking through movements or just us projecting what we think onto interpreting our own movements. But a story just came about it that, really resonated with what was going on interpersonally between us and other themes in our lives. Then we shot the second shot with the blank wall to further flesh out that idea and explore that concept of how we were going to tell that dialogue.
Initially, we had a working title of Why Are You Thinking, which ended up being the last line of the spoken word that Vanessa wrote and delivered. We chose this formulation because there's often a dialogue that goes on between people who are conversing. Typically it's It's more intimate friends, or at the very least, like close friends, where there's clearly a tension, there's clearly a problematic or something to be discussed or talked about, but there's a blockage, whatever that may be. You know, it could be fear of offending someone or previous experiences that are causing this mental jam. Oftentimes it's combated with the sort of question, what are you thinking about? Like, what's on your mind? Nothing. I'm fine. Good. Whereas we were having a number of discussions about that organically and also through the lens of the work, where we realized that a different formulation of the age-old question, what's on your mind, or what are you thinking about, could actually be, why are you thinking? As in, like, I know that there's something up. I know that it's generally something that's affecting you and by extension is affecting us. Why are you unable to vocalize those thoughts? Why are you unable to create further dialogue in this moment? Why are you so stuck in your head? It was really interesting to capture that on video, that like real struggle of, sometimes it really feels like pulling teeth on both ends, you know, like the person that's asking, but also the person that's being asked. We tried to portray this piece by demonstrating two different landscapes. You know, we have the more dreamy kind of mindscape of the character played by myself, and then we also have the real world, so to speak, where there's a real interaction going on between the same character, who's now very stoic and unmovable, but is being asked these questions, is being prompted in a number of different ways, generally, lovingly, and specifically with the different facial features that we used, rather than like saying, what are you thinking about? It'd be like, do you feel this way? Do you feel this way?
And for me, in that motion, it was also illustrating the assumptions that can be made when nothing is said. When there is like this neutrality to the expression or communication, it leaves so much room for guessing of like, is it this? Is it that? And it does lead to a lot of frustration and anxiety. I love that he brought up the question of why are you thinking, rather than the original, like, what are you thinking? Because for me, the what is an isolated incident. It's in that moment. It's maybe that one thing that's bothering you, but quite often it's something really small. Sometimes that might also be where that's stuck, because it seems so silly and insignificant that you don't want to see anything to upset somebody or seem like you're making a big deal out of it. But for me, the more interesting and important question often is, why is it that these little things build up, not communicate them? And when you can get the why addressed, whether it's previous experiences or fear of how it may be perceived, or like just a personal fear of being vulnerable in that situation, once that why is addressed, it opens up the channel of communication for future. Yeah, that was really cool to explore that. Creating of this piece also sparked a lot of dialogue and learning between us, just like outside of making art. This is actually our third time making a little film project, Art Baby, together. He was holding the camera for Do You Understand? And I held the camera for him for a piece that we created called Rooted, that I can't post on YouTube because it is copyrighted music, but it is on my IGTV story if you want to check that out. It was actually for like a virtual Burning Man screening for the Dance of the Seven Chakras. I will also link that below. And for this one, it was our first time being on camera at the same time, thanks to, again, the pipe cleaners, because even for the second shot, we had like a command hook on the wall, like by our staircase, and we just, again, like tied our GoPro up with pipe cleaners and hung it up. So maybe we should invest in a tripod of some kind, but it worked. So yeah, it was really great to be able to explore on camera together and like get into character and act and tell a story. And it was also our first time collaborating with another person, which is my friend Mary, who created this like amazing track with her friend Geoffrey Keezer, I believe that's his name, who is a jazz musician. Check them both out. I will link both their profiles below. Thanks to them for making this piece that inspired all this work. So yeah, really looking forward to future collaborations with other movement artists, maybe filmmakers, so we're not like amateurly like strapping things and like really DIY ways. We have another piece coming up, another couple ideas bouncing around that he's already produced music for one. Lots of collaborations coming up. I think that's it for now. Yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you liked it. Again, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me your favorite thing about it. Hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!